Hello, everybody, and welcome to Deep Dive Zone. This is a Miles Tales Prower replay podcast for fans of all shapes and sizes. And, guys, last week, we talked about Knuckles' game, and it was But, this week, we're talking about all three of the games with Tails' name on the cover.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, it's really quite a variety pack we've got here. They're all very different.
Yeah, we've got Tails Skypatrol, which is a horizontal scrolling shooter, and then we've got Tails Adventures, which is a Metroidvania, and then we've got Tails and the Music Maker, which is, I'm gonna call it a fuck around 'em up.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
It's a little kid's game.
It's I think it's supposed to be edutainment, but I don't know what the hell you'd be learning from it.
It's interesting to me because, I'm pretty sure that Knuckles in all areas was more popular than Tails, but Tails is the one who gets 3 games, while Knuckles only gets 1.
And, in my opinion, given much more focus in the games, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, these could only be Tails' games, because they focus on him being a mechanic and him flying, whereas Knuckles Chaotix contained Knuckles, and that was about it.
Yeah, he exists in the game, and that's about it.
Yeah. We'll talk about the flying one first. Tails Sky Patrol, another not localized until Sonic Adventure DX game, I believe.
I played this game for about 20 minutes, I think.
It's not too bad if you're save stating every 5 seconds.
That's not exactly high praise.
That was sarcastic, to be clear.
Oh, good. Yeah.
This thing is really, really weird. So, this game, I'm a little bit struggling to explain it. I guess I'll start with whatever story there is, which is that I don't fucking know. There's a witch lady in a minecart whose name is Witchcart because they're not creative. And Tails has to stop her, and her 3 minions, who are called Berenger, Karoshia, and Hawkawolf. And hey, first female Sonic villain, hashtag women's rights. I don't have anything to say about this game's presentation.
I saw the villains at the very beginning, and I just kind of did like a double take. I'm like, what? What are these? What is going on? Like, the style they're drawn in, and they're just all wacky, and they don't seem like Sonic villains.
Hey,
well, they seem like cartoon villains.
Exactly.
I got something to tell you. They're not.
Uh-oh.
This game was never developed as a Sonic the Hedgehog game. This game started out using Disney IP.
That explains a lot about the characters.
Yes! There are old pre-release screenshots of Tails going up against Pete.
Oh, wait, so Tails was still involved?
Oh my gosh.
I think it was when they were in the middle of developing it. So they just hadn't changed Pete into whoever.
Gotcha.
But, the wolf guy, he's based off a Disney character whose name I don't remember, but is, a wolf and also an asshole.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess Tails maybe would have been Donald? I don't know.
So, how did that happen?
Yeah, I'd have to imagine that either they were developing this game with the Disney IP and something happened with the license that forced them to turn it into something else, or they were developing this game and they decided that they didn't want it to be a Disney game because, any number of reasons, and so they remade it with Tails instead. And this is not something this is something that does happen in games, Journey to Silius was, of course, going to be a Terminator game. Doom was meant to be an Aliens game.
Right, it was.
That one. That's interesting.
I forgot about that.
But in this case, I think Disney probably came out of it better, because if this game was attached to them... Well, there's plenty of bad Disney games, but...
That's true. But at the time, I don't think there were a whole lot. Disney games were usually considered to be pretty safe.
I guess, Capcom DuckTales is beloved, so you're not wrong.
And so are Castle Evolution, which I think was a Genesis exclusive.
And, people like the old Aladdin and Lion King games. Yeah,
well, that certainly explains that.
That does explain a lot about the designs.
In this day and age where there are bad Disney games, however, this would have been one of them, because this game sucks.
100%. Yeah, this game is bad.
It's a horizontal scrolling shooter where you play as Tails, and you can't move left and right. You can only slow down and speed up.
Yeah, and Tails kills himself if there's there's a wall in front of me, I guess I can't do anything except charge into it and die.
Yes, if you touch a wall or barely scrape the floor, Tails instantly dies.
It's ridiculous.
He has a flight meter that you have to keep charged with eating mint candy.
What does it
Yeah.
say about Tails where they can't like have any energy without constantly eating sugar?
He
Tails
needed to
is
drink
like
Sonic
eight,
flavored G
right?
Fuel.
He needs to eat the Sonic G Fuel.
Yes, that would
I
have.
mean,
This
would've
is
helped.
a weird thing because canonically, like even on newer character files, you will still find mint candy listed as Tails' favorite food,
Oh, well, there's a fact that I learned.
which is interesting because that's something that they came up with, in the 90s. It's the same thing as Knuckles liking grapes, but like
Right,
the
yeah.
Sonic and Chili Dogs thing was only ever an Americanism, and so that never had a canonical answer. But now it's just kind of forced its way into the games.
Interesting.
This game does continue a visual metaphor from Knuckles Chaotix, which is a character arbitrarily holding a ring, except in this case, Tails just hits people with it.
Part of me was originally thinking that maybe there was some connection, but I guess now I know that there probably isn't.
I
Maybe
didn't
he's
make that
metaphorically
connection.
forcing them to play Chaotix.
Ooh.
For some reason, my brain just went to '06, where Tails throws dummy bombs, dummy rings.
Oh, that's right, he does.
Bombs. That's my connection.
In a game as insubstantial as this, anything goes, so we could say that that's canon.
All right, it's canon.
What's
It's-
canon?
I don't know, dummy rings? Who cares?
Okay.
There's so little to say about this game otherwise. Like, it's not fun, you can
No.
you can get hit by a lot of things and die very easily.
Oh, I mean, I have a lot of things to say about it.
Go ahead.
Basically, everything
go
I
ahead.
got angry at in the game.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
we already touched at you literally tap a wall or scrape against the floor and you die instantly. At first, I thought everything kills you instantly until I'm like, oh, okay, the enemies don't. They decrease your energy meter. The energy meter is stupid. Like, you basically have to be constantly searching for candy because Tails can't fly for very long without it. There's something really weird about the pickups. You have to be like at the exact height of the pickup to the pixel, or Tails will just fly over it or under it for some weird reason.
I noticed Tails has like a non-existent hitbox.
Very
Unless it would
strange.
kill him.
True.
Oh yeah, then it's huge. And the game is basically all about getting around Tails's strange urge to charge forward with no regard to their own safety. So all the gimmicks are basically about getting around that, not by making Tails just stop or anything. No. It's like weights that pull you down really fast so that you can get down tight corridors, or balloons that throw you really high upward, or like poles that you can swing around, and then you can go backwards, but only for a second. Then Tails is back going forward. It's like he's being pulled by a magnet.
Yeah, the ring just latches onto stuff.
Yeah, if maybe the ring was he was like cursed and the ring was stuck on his hand and the witch was like pulling him forward with a magnet, why isn't that the story? That would make sense.
Maybe that is the story. I didn't read the manual of this shit.
Neither
Probably
did I.
not,
I didn't care enough.
That's a very Sonic Labyrinth style explanation, though.
It makes more sense than nothing, I guess. The boss battles are annoying because when you hit the boss, well, first of all, the bosses have like 8 billion hits. Yes. But second of all, is they stop. And so you can hit them over and over pretty easily, but suddenly you're getting like closed in. Yeah, you're like, oh, no, there's no escape. I can't. And then they trap you at the back and hit you. It's really annoying.
The bosses, it's like, they're not exactly hard as long as you know to avoid them once you get too close. It's like most of them just throw shit at you, and you can usually bop it away with the ring, but they don't feel good to fight. Not that any part of this game feels good to play, but...
We'll say the bosses were more tolerable than the stages, usually.
I guess,
Which
yeah.
are just all over the place. Although, strangely... Well, okay, so the bosses are all pretty much the same. The stages are all pretty much the same, too. Like, they don't even... Okay, they have their own backgrounds and music, whatever. But they don't have any, like, specific gimmicks, usually. They seem to all be strewn about in every single stage.
Yeah, I only have a couple notes on the actual stages themselves. Like, the third one, I think, is called Metal Island, and that one I only put as significant because it doesn't have a regular floor, and it blows you around with wind.
Right, that was the stage definitely with the most identity, I think. And it's because it was more open, it was also less frustrating because there was less stuff to run into.
Yeah, probably the best stage in the game. Not that that's saying much.
No. Actually, we got to talk about the training area, which is called training area, but it's like you're getting thrown in the deep end right off the bat.
Yeah,
I
I don't know
had
what's
so much trouble with that training area.
what's training about it. It's just the first level.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
I was surprised when you could die. I would think, when you're training, you can't die. But no, you can.
It's like 1-1 is not a training level. Undead Berg is not a training level. They're the first levels, but they're not the tutorial. It doesn't give you a tutorial,
Yeah.
does it?
No.
No,
I just had to figure out how this game works, and it
pretty
doesn't
much.
work consistently, really, either.
It's like, what is the highest praise that I can give this game? It's like, the music
It
did not
kind of-
passively hurt me.
Yeah, the music was
It's forgettable, but it was not a problem.
I was disappointed by the music. Even the bad 8-bit games generally had some music tracks that I thought were good. This game's music just pretty generic.
that might also be a leftover from its Disney days.
Probably that would make sense.
This was probably a kind of the Sonic aspect of it, at least, was probably a pretty rushed job.
I mean, I would say that in terms of backgrounds, it's Sonic enough.
Yeah.
I was actually going to mention the fourth level, last level, Dark Castle. Yeah, it's
One
got
word.
Casino Night Zone in the background for some reason.
Oh,
Like, it looks like Casino Night Zone. I don't know why.
just to try to tie it in more with Sonic. The most Sonic thing about this is the badniks, I would say. I really like seeing like the turtles from Sky Chase in this.
Yeah.
Were you about to say Sky Stanctuary?
No, I was just tripping over my words.
That's like a good thing to put like on a Sonic themed weed shirt.
Reminded me of that
alright.
one Sonic themed weed shirt that we saw once.
Oh yeah, what was it? Chronic the Hemphog or something like that?
Sounds about
Jesus
right.
Christ.
Listen, we got the weed, we got the G Fuel. It's nowhere to go but up from here on out. So let's talk about Tails' Adventure.
Okay, this game.
This is much better.
This is a much better game. I actually really like this game.
It was
Um,
good.
It is held
Yeah.
back by a few things, but we'll get there.
I feel like one of the things it's held back by is its platform.
That's probably true.
Maybe.
I feel like it might have been better as a Genesis game, but Sega just wasn't sure if a Tails game would sell well.
I will say I am beyond impressed that this is a Game Gear game. Like,
Oh yeah.
this blew away what I thought the Game Gear could do. Like the other 8-bit games, they're just not trying. They have no passes anymore. They lose their passes. But this game stuffed
yeah.
so much into it. It's insane.
Yeah,
I think
this
we
is
can
the-
agree it's by far the best 8-bit game.
Oh yes.
Probably, yeah, I think so.
It's like first of all, it's a legitimate game. Like it doesn't really feel gimped in any way
No,
or
it's
any major way.
it's got its set of mechanics, it's got
It
its
does them
layout,
well.
and yeah, it does exactly what it intends to. So this game, it has an actual opening cutscene, which most of the Game Gear games don't get, but this one actually
Yes.
gives you context for the story, where Tails is living on, I think it's Cocoa Island. I think that's the island in
Yep,
this
I
game.
believe that's true.
And it is attacked by the Battle Cuckoo Empire, or Battle Bird Empire, they're sometimes called. And he has to just single-handedly take down this entire army of birds.
Yeah, I actually bothered to look up the story for this one. Apparently, this takes place before Tails meets Sonic, which makes sense.
Prequel to the
Wait.
hit Sonic adventure.
But there's an item called Sonic that lets you
Yeah, well, there's
spin
Knuckles
dash.
and Fang too, but that's...
Yeah.
Those obviously aren't canon to the story.
Of course, yeah.
Also,
I
was
guess you
completely
technically don't have to
confused.
pick them up as well, so...
That's true. They're not required.
Ludonarrative dissonance, as they say.
When Tails picked up the Knuckles pickup, which is the first of those ones I found, I was just like, "Huh?" He just holds it up, and it's like Knuckles. It's not like,
You have obtained Knuckles.
yeah. I was so confused.
It makes a
and then-
Knuckles fire out of your forehead.
And then I equipped it, and I'm like, okay, it lets you punch. That makes sense. But it's not like the other pickups that are actual pickups and not like character themes. But yeah, so this game, you find pickups, and those are what help you progress, because it is a Metroidvania, as was touched on before, where basically you go through levels, and Tails sucks at first. It's hilarious how little he can fly. Like, he gets
Yeah.
tired instantly. But you get more and more powerful as you go through the levels and find the items, and they also open up new areas, as you'd expect in Metroidvania. There's, like, the napalm bomb that lets you burn stuff. There's, like, the big bomb that blows up certain blocks. I don't know. One thing about this game is it doesn't very easily show you. It doesn't. The different blocks that are destroyed with different items are not very distinctive, in my opinion. I got really confused by that.
Yeah, I think that it's like, to use Metroid as a comparison, like, I think in general this is probably a more comprehensible and completable game than, like, Metroid 1. But, something good that like, Super Metroid does is that it color codes the doors by which items get to them. And when you see a different colored door that you're going to need a different item, and then when you get a different item, you're thinking, oh, this can probably blow up some color of door. But it's like,
Right.
what determines which rocks require normal bombs and which rocks require big bombs? It's
Trial
hard
and
to tell.
error.
Yeah, those aren't
Yeah.
even distinctive. At least, like, there are, like, grassy blocks for the napalm bomb, but the big bomb is not really signaled at all. It's not all just about, of course, blocks, though. Most importantly, there's the remote robot, which you get really early on. It's used, like, all over the place.
That was a really cool idea for an item.
They call him T-Pup.
That's cute.
Oh, that's their name? Oh, that is cute. The remote robot is very cute and really cool because obviously it has its prescribed uses, and I do like it. A number of the puzzles you can fit it in little hatches, and it can grab items and hit switches and whatever for you. But also, I found myself using it just to scout ahead too. So it has uses aside from just the puzzles. Especially there are certain parts in the game where there's wind blowing from high up. And so I would use the remote robot to scout around there and try to find how I'm supposed to get in that area if I can't just fly straight to it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and since this game, this is a game very much built around its character's moveset, and, like, I was gonna complain that, like, oh, Tails is slow, he can't jump in a ball, he can spin dash if he uses the Sonic item, but we'll get to why I didn't use that. But, and he only has bombs to use, and they have a very specific arc, and, this and this, which basically means you have to play kind of carefully when actually going into combat with enemies, because, especially when you get in the later game and there's enemies that have, points where they can't be damaged. And so being able to scout ahead and see what you're going to be up against is actually genuinely valuable.
Yeah, no, that's a good use for that item.
And it helps that you're invincible when you have it active, too. That would be terrible if Tails could just get beat up when you were using the robot. I got scared by that at first.
I don't think I ever ran across a point where I could have gotten beaten up, but I kept wondering if I could.
Well, there's the boss fight near the end, but...
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I really like all the items. Okay, actually, I don't really like all the items. I like the idea of there being different items, and many of them are good. But, so here is probably my number one problem with the game. You can only carry 4 items at a time.
Yes!
Why?
Yeah.
I don't know why they wouldn't just give you a Mega Man menu with all of your possible weapons.
That would have been so nice.
Are they worried that Tails is gonna be overpowered?
Well, it's a Metroidvania. By the end of the game, you should be kind of overpowered.
Well, and it's not like they don't ramp things up, because they do. I don't think it would be broken to have every item in the game available.
No, it really wouldn't. You might be you'd be powerful, but you wouldn't be, like, disgustingly godlike power.
This is another, like, ROM hack wish list situation, where if somebody can do that, just allow you to scroll through every item in the game on the pause menu, it would be perfect.
That would be really nice.
Yeah, I doubt anyone's done that, but 100%, I would love to replay the game with that. It would save a lot of time and frustration, as I probably wouldn't care nearly as much if the blocks weren't clearly shown, if I could just try everything I had at every point. But
right.
I suppose it would also be okay
it.
if you just made the upcoming level tell you what items you need for it. That would also be fine.
Yeah.
True. That would be helpful as well. No, I mean, I wouldn't take that in its place, though, because some of the items, initially I liked the variety, right? It was cool to have new toys to play with, but so probably about halfway through the game, if I picked up an item and I could tell it was just a silly item, that goes away. I never ever use it. Like, I'm not going to use Knuckles, which is a shame because I love punching things. But I'm not going to use it because that item slot is more valuable as anything else, really. There are a number of silly little items like that, but they don't get any chance to shine because of that.
I never put on the Sonic item. I never put on the Knuckles item. I never learned what the Fang item even did. I never used the magic glove. I didn't use the hammer. I used the hammer for a little bit because you get it before you have 4 items total.
Oh, I use the hammer a lot.
Oh, okay. I
Suppose
will
it's up
say
to
I don't
preference.
think any level ever requires the use of more than 3 items at a time, but you have to still know what those items are, so you're still probably bringing the things that you suspect you're going to need most.
I will
Right.
say I didn't get as frustrated at this game as I might have, because my personal regret for this game is having to play through it in a week, because then I couldn't try to figure everything out myself. Once I got about halfway through the game, I'm like, whoa, this is... I did not expect this game to be as in-depth as it was. And I was like, no, I'm breaking out a guide. So
Right.
then the guide just told me what I need to bring in each level. It doesn't ruin the game by any extent, but I would have loved to puzzle my way through this.
Yeah, and I felt that a little bit too. And I mean, I played it all in one day, which I did break out a guide myself, but it took me still, like, 3 or 4 hours. And it's like, that's a decent amount of gameplay for a Game Gear game, but it is,
Yeah.
it is a failing of the podcast structure that we've made that this was like this. But, that's part of the reason that we're trying to make things a little more comfortable for ourselves. So if there's a longer game, we can start it when we need to. Because it's like, once we get to Sonic Chronicles, I'm not sure that you could, if you work a job or have classes, I don't know if you'd be able to beat that in a week.
Mm.
Well, not with the experience. Not without the experience I have, anyway.
Well, I know you can beat it in like fucking 15 seconds, but
Right. But yeah, no, I
Um,
get what you're saying, and yeah.
yeah. Meanwhile, Tails Adventure. I don't like the mountain area where you have to use the night vision, because that's just an annoying checklist you have to do at the beginning of a room.
Mm.
I would not have minded the night vision if it acted like the Chaos Emeralds and was just a passive upgrade, which is weird, by the way. Why are the Chaos Emeralds like that? Why are those the only items? I really like the Chaos Emeralds because
Yeah, they should do that for like the fast running as well.
Yeah, because they
Mhm.
act as progression. At least initially, I realized by the end that you don't actually need all the Chaos Emeralds to win because I didn't have them all, but I thought you did at first. And they obviously they increase your health because rings are literally just health in this game, and the amount of time you can fly, which I think it's really cute that each cycle of flying, Tails looks less and less tired because at first he just looks exhausted, then he looks normal, and then he looks like really determined. And so as you get the Chaos Emeralds, it's like he's gaining experience and becoming better at flying. I don't know.
He's building
Yeah.
confidence.
Yeah.
There's this one really annoying section in the mountain level where there's a bunch of blocks or like pillars hanging from the ceiling, and you have to break them with bombs, and it has wind blowing down from the top, so you can only use normal jumps to get over, but you still have to make spaces for yourself to jump onto with bombs. And I brought the remote bombs with me for that mission like a dumbass. I didn't have the
no.
normal bombs. So getting those to land in the exact right position and double tapping the button to make them blow up and landing back on the platform since I had to jump to get the range on them, it was not fun. And I also discovered that Tails is about to fall off the edge animation, the teetering over the edge. That makes him face the opposite direction from the edge. So I would
Yes,
throw
it does.
bombs
Oh.
backwards.
Yeah, that part, I went through it, and I thought it was a cool puzzle, and then I didn't give it a second thought, but that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I
It was
always brought the
likely a
regular
Misa
bombs with
thing.
me. Until the triple bombs. Then I gave up the regular bombs, but
Yeah.
I always brought them for the rest of the game.
We like T-Pup, the remote robot, but he
Mhm.
also has one other function, which is that he turns into a submarine called the Sea Fox with a drill on the front.
So I was already mad impressed by this game. I'm like, wow, it's got all these items and these levels and different mechanics. And then suddenly, oh yeah, now we're introducing a new gameplay type, which they kind of did that again later too. And I was like, whoa. Like, again, once again impressed. And more items for the submarine too.
Yeah, it has its own set
Yeah.
of items and its own set of levels.
It's really neat.
I do think that some of those probably could have been better thought through. I think the speed up item that you need to get up the waterfall, but it just makes you jump higher arbitrarily.
That
It's
was
not-
so frustrating.
No, that was probably one of the most frustrating parts in this game for me.
Yeah.
It is so ridiculously precise. That was one time when I was like, do I even have the right items to do this? And checked, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do apparently.
It
And
feels like a
it's just-
sequence
yeah.
break.
It does.
That's an interesting way of putting that, yeah.
Also, I can't dodge the enemies that are coming at you. They're ridiculous.
Well, what they should have done is they should have given you the extra armor item for the submarine before that, because that just makes you invincible, and it doesn't turn off.
That thing confused me so much. I was like, it's just invincibility? Like, oh, I'm playing Lego Star Wars? Is this a cheat in the game? It felt like that. Also, I got confused because it doesn't work later. But
Yes, they
it
just
does
turn it
work
off
for
at the end because they need it to be challenging.
It does work for the underwater sections, though. But in the section where you're supposed to use the extra armor, which is more like invincible armor, there's still a whole bunch of enemies and stuff. And so I'm just like, I guess I'm just strolling through here. Like, why did they even put this all here?
Well, and I feel the same way about some of the remote robot sections have like enemies and hazards in it, but the robot doesn't take damage.
Yeah, that threw me through the loop at first. At first, I would like almost panic because I'm like, oh no, do I have to dodge the enemies? And I realized you don't. Speaking of enemies, oh, with Green Island, there are these really, really tiny birds. They look, I don't know what's up with them. They look hilarious, and I'm like, why are they there? They also have bees. I hate those bees. They just
bees
spawn
were
infinitely.
so annoying.
Yeah, I think the napalm bomb is pretty good for them because it actually has hitbox way larger than the fire.
Yeah.
I didn't get the napalm bomb until after that, so...
Well, that's interesting because I had it there from the start. So that means that we did take different paths through this game, which is, I guess, a sign of good replay value and good design that it still worked for all of us.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. I didn't get all the Chaos Emeralds in this game, and I'm considering maybe coming back and actually completing it at some point.
I think I got 5 out of 6 or something like that. I'll tell you this, the Battle Fortress, the last level of the game, the first area of it is this long vertical shaft of just repeating enemy patterns, and it's really annoying because I never feel like I'm hitting them correctly.
That was the other part of the game that really annoyed me. It wasn't helped by the fact that I was a little tired by the game at that point because I was just trying to rush through it in a reasonable amount of time. And so I tried to rush that part. It doesn't work. You can't rush it. The enemies are placed so cheaply. You'll run into the ones above you, and the stupid ones on the side can shoot up at you if you don't kill them. So you just have to take it slow, like painstakingly slow, and you can do it without a problem. But also, if you don't bring the anti-air missile, you're dead. Just another problem with only being able to carry 4 items.
I didn't bring the anti-air missile. I brought the neutron missile or whatever it's called, the big one. Because that one sort of homes in on enemies, so it can get you through there, but it also is really not very good at targeting them.
Well, I guess not the only way, but it's the best way, I think, probably.
Yes, you should bring that thing. It's another remote bomb on the bomb block walls.
Yep. The bosses in this game were, by and large, extremely difficult, actually.
They're really weird.
They're kind of weird. I couldn't tell at first when I was hitting them. I'm used to, in most Sonic games, the boss, like, flashes visibly when you hit it.
Yes.
Not in this game. It makes a sound effect that doesn't sound like damage. It sounds like you're hitting, like, a ball uselessly off metal. Like you're not hurting them, and that's actually the hurt sound.
It sounds like your sword smacking against a bombable wall.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing that I did manage with that, and this is probably my own nerd brain, is that the damage sound in this game is the same one as in at least Sonic Chaos, maybe Triple Trouble as well. So that's how I knew that it was damage.
I thought I recognized that sound.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well,
but I did think that it was weird because I did have, I don't remember which boss it is, 3rd or 4th one maybe, where it's in the whatever caves, the green one. But it's this guy that can, he has a really complex firing pattern from the front, but you can get behind him and hit him. But then when he enters the second phase, he'll shoot behind himself. So you basically gotta fly right above him in a really tight space and drop bombs on him. That guy was tough.
That boss was the most complex and the toughest.
Well, I don't even know if complex is the right word, because he doesn't move.
I was about to say, imagine if he actually moved around. Well, I just mean it really gave off the vibe of, like, the greatest invention of Dr. Fukurokov, this giant robotic mech of death.
Yeah. It reminds me of the MSX Metal Gear games and, like, fighting the Metal Gear in those, where you just kind of have to position yourself, and it's not really a battle, per se.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, a lot of this game is sort of like a puzzle.
I do actually like Dr. Fukurokov Besides having a very stupid name, I like that his boss battle is just that he's, like, messing with his machine or whatever, and you just have to manipulate things to, like, drop a fucking rock on his head.
That was amazing. I was so thrown off. I didn't read what the story was until the end. So when he showed up, I was like, is this the main villain? It's just like Professor Bird out to get me? Because before then, the only distinctive character, what's his name? Battle Cuckoo the 16th. But he only appears briefly. And then he doesn't show up again until the very end, which is a weird choice, by the way. Only having generic villains show up through most of the game.
I will say, these guys feel like they should be, like, classic Sonic villains. Like, you could have put these in, like, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and they would have been perfect, you know, villains other than Robotnik to have in that show, because they're just a bunch of wacky doofuses.
No, I love them, and I'm sad they didn't show up for the most part until the end, because they're really fun. I will say I do like how the random soldiers look like shocked when you defeat them. Their death animation is hilarious.
Yeah. I mean,
but...
maybe it's because Tails is an 8-year-old and you wouldn't expect, you know, one of them to be handling fucking explosives and napalm.
Yeah, as said earlier, it's Tails versus this giant bird empire. Solos it. It's insane.
He's one deadly motherfucker.
I'll say. Speaking of the Emperor, I guess, because this is an empire.
Yeah.
The Emperor bird. That guy is like... He's funny looking, but he's also pretty brutal. When you walk up to him, he like grabs you by the scruff of the neck, and Tails has this like completely pained expression on his face, and he like slams you against the wall. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he is out for blood.
Yeah. I guess I would be really furious after a little fox took down my entire army too.
He's kind of a Dr. Eggbird a little bit. He kind of looks like Eggman, but as a bird.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because he's got the same body shape, and he's got a similar outfit, and he's got the little glasses. I mean, I guess he has a really long neck. Eggman doesn't have that. I'm not sure Eggman has any neck. But in total, I thought the game was pretty solid, and I really like that at the end it gives you an item collection percentage. It is literally an actual Metroid-style game.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I knew you collected items and walked around, but I was surprised that it fully sticks to the genre.
I don't know if you beat it really fast and that gives you, like, Tails in a sexy swimsuit. That's maybe an aspect of Metroid we should leave in Metroid.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, I also like the credit sequence where Tails is, like, trying to build an even bigger teapup and then the head explodes.
Oh yeah, poor guy. He's doing his best.
You know, this game has not been decanonized in any way by SEGA, but it's like, you think this would be the one where it is, because Tails lives alone on this remote island and only ever fights, you know, birds, and can apparently take on an entire army himself. But the always story that they go with in Sonic games is that Tails is from who the hell knows where, but, you know, Sonic inspires him to stand up for himself by protecting him from bullies. So it's like, you know, can Tails just burn anybody who bullies him with napalm but chooses to be scared?
I feel like most kids
Checkmate,
would be
Sega.
scared. Most kids would be scared of napalm, though. So maybe Tails is just too scared to use it after the destruction he has seen it can cause.
Are you telling me that Tails has post-traumatic stress disorder in Sonic 2?
Oh my gosh.
Holy shit, the plot thickens.
That might
The things
explain
he
it.
was forced to do for his country.
It's not even a country, it's just the flickies. Those flickies
I did it to test my
are vicious.
ability.
I mean, he wants to protect the flickies. Come on, wouldn't you?
Good
Well,
lord.
yeah. But aside from that awesome headcanon, I completely agree that this game, I was confused playing through it because I expected Tails to fight Eggman, and then it's just this bird army. So it really feels like an alternate universe more than anything else.
Yeah. Maybe... no, never mind. I'm not going to do any more stupid lore implications.
No, that's enough lore, I suppose.
We've got enough lore for one day.
Instead, let's do the opposite of lore and talk about a game that probably can't be canon because it's absolute fucking nonsense. Tales and the Music Maker. An edutainment game for the Sega Pico, which... What?
So I assume this was everyone's first experience with the Pico, right?
I vaguely knew that this existed because I vaguely knew this game existed. I had no idea that this was what the Pico was.
Yeah, the Pico is just like an edutainment console based off of Genesis hardware.
What? So yes, but it's weirder than that because it's this weird touchscreen D-pad one button
Yeah,
tablet thing.
yeah, pretty much.
Like
For the
setting
kids.
up the controls in this for Kega was weird enough on its own. Like it wasn't hard because Kega's an easy emulator to set up.
I'm
but
glad you explained how to do it because I would not have figured it out.
yeah, so it's like the controls in this game are like you have a D-pad that you can use to move Tails, but Tails doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
Right. Well, it's useful in some of the mini games.
this was probably one of the strangest gaming experiences I've had in a while.
I think you mentioned earlier, so this is an edutainment game. What the fuck is it teaching you? I don't understand anything. I'm not learning anything here.
Okay, to be fair, I only say it's an edutainment game because the Pico was an edutainment console.
No, it's clearly supposed to be an edutainment game, because if you ever had, like Reader Rabbit, or, like, fucking, you know, I don't know, Pajama Sam was probably another one, Freddy Fish, was that another?
So, I was
Jam-
going to mention,
Jam- Jam.
this
Freddy Fish,
game
yeah.
was almost, like, insulting to me by how, I don't know what the right word is. It was, but, like,
Well,
My
it
brain-
had that dumbed down for
Yes.
kids flavor to it.
yes. And the problem also was, I was not an edutainment kid. I played no edutainment games.
Well, I will
wanted-
have you know that this is not a good example of an entertainment
I
game.
know that because I've seen the good ones.
Exactly.
But
Well,
like
I mean-
I was rotting my brain out with like Pokemon when I was like 7.
Well, this game, it's more like, did you ever have one of those discs where it's like, you know, it was in the games section, and maybe it was based off a property you like, but what it was actually called was, like, an activity center or something?
I had software like that when I was a kid.
This is more like that. Like, my sister had, like, a
Okay,
Disney
yeah.
Princess one, and of course, because we had, you know, only so many games, of course I played my sister's video games. What are you talking about?
Oh sure.
And, like, I had, you know, it's you know, it's just a click on stuff and sometimes things happen game.
Random mini
Yep.
games.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
It really doesn't feel good to play. It feels like I could be doing something better with my time. Which is
Yeah.
to say it was exactly boring. It just feels wrong. Like the sprites are strange.
Yes.
They
They're not-
look
Horrible.
no, they're not bad exactly. They just look off
Yeah.
somehow.
This game doesn't look like a Genesis game in most cases.
No, it doesn't.
It looks like you made half of a fucking Sega Genesis game and half of a Master System game and just kind of crammed their sprites together.
So to me, it looked more like half Genesis game and half like really shitty early '90s PC game.
Yeah, it's like a DOS game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this game would not be out of place as a 16-bit DOS game or early Windows 3.1 game.
Yeah, because it's got the weird gradients, it's got the garish color selection.
Oh yeah, talking about colors. What about that Green Hill Zone mini game where like it suddenly becomes like psychedelic colors and then later
That
Yeah.
was so weird.
I thought that was probably the best minigame out of the bunch because it was the least generic, but it was still really weird. Like,
On one
guess
hand,
the
I
music
agree.
theme is that it has, what is it, Is it Beethoven that it plays when you go fast?
I'm afraid I can't identify classical music for you.
I normally can. I think so.
Whatever, we'll look it up. No, we won't.
Um,
No, that one was the best because it was the closest thing to an actual Sonic game out of the bunch. The rest of them is like, you match musical instruments that make sounds that don't sound like those instruments.
I had so
There's-
much trouble with that one at first.
There's a breakout game that's really, really slow.
I was
Okay, that's what it was.
that just came out of fucking nowhere and really took me off guard.
But yeah, the mini games are all
There's-
pretty random.
Yeah, there's like a musical chairs game with frogs on lily pads. Hashtag first
Right.
appearance of Froggy.
This game is canon?
Oh
Yes,
no!
this is the game that Big the Cat made when Tails asked for his help on a project.
I could see that.
And the weirdest minigame out of the bunch was one where you have notes that bounce down like a musical scale and you have to draw circles around them.
Oh no.
I was so glad that they didn't like play a note and you had to match it to the correct note because I have no sense of like note scale, I guess.
Well, I think you're supposed to draw the correct note surrounding the note, but I couldn't get it to work usually. I got it to work like twice, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm raging at this game. Nah, moving on.
Yeah, no, what you actually have to do is you just have to draw one circle for each note on the scale.
Yeah,
Which
so
means
I
that you
did
will
get
eventually get it no matter what.
So I got that, but I kind of accidentally got it like the first 4 times.
Maybe it's really weird practice for getting like paraloops in Knights, since that would come out a little later.
We moved past the Green Hill Zone one. I wanted to go back to that for a second because I have one more thing though, which is that I agree it's the best mini game, but the problem is it still falls short because it feels insulting. Like no. Little children don't know how to play Sonic the Hedgehog properly. You have to have 4 modes: tiptoe, stop, jump, and run. You're too stupid to know how to move left and right and jump and spin dash and stuff.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's like, yes, it is patronizing to us as adults, but also I really, really struggled with the classic Sonic games as a kid, so it's not completely out of the water.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
I guess it's just that
I
this would
didn't
have
play
made
this as a
sense
kid, but who
for
knows?
this would have made sense for a harder game series than Sonic is what it is. There's an old. It's really weird because the thing that I find myself comparing this to is that there is an old, unreleased, fucking canceled game. There was a Kirby game that was meant to use the NES mouse. That was
Kid
called
Kirby.
Kid Kirby, where Kirby had a stupid little tuft of hair that was meant to be, I don't know if it was an edutainment game, but it was meant to be a Kirby game for younger audiences, which makes me ask, what the fuck do you mean a Kirby game for younger audiences? Kirby's already for younger audiences. They
the point,
literally say they make them easy. That's the point.
That is ironic.
But that game had the decency to never come out, whereas this one did.
Yeah. I will say there was one moment in this game that made me feel something.
Yeah?
It was the jump scare of Robotnik.
Yes.
Wait, I may not have seen that.
If you click on the door on one of the screens, it's like on a mobile home, then Robotnik will jump up to the window, and it surprised me.
Huh. I didn't see that, I guess.
It's weird that Sonic and Robotnik are in this game and you can do basically nothing with them. You can make Robotnik appear in front of a window, and you can make Sonic roll, and that's it.
I got so excited when I saw Sonic. I was like, oh, he's here! This feels like an actual... Well, I guess it doesn't feel like an actual Sonic game, but it feels more like an actual Sonic game.
The one thing that I did find... I don't know if you guys found this, but on the Sonic screen, if you do something with the mouse, if you click somewhere or, like, hold the shift key or something, you can get into, like, a paint minigame?
Yeah, I kind of did that by accident.
I missed that one.
There's no UI for it, though. I think it must have been something that was on the actual Pico hardware, and that would make sense, as it was, a tablet with stylus game that you'd be able to draw stuff on it.
Right.
But since I couldn't see any of that stuff, I was like, what am I looking at?
Yeah, that minigame was strange.
The whole thing is weird. This is the most bootleg feeling official product that we have talked about for this podcast.
Yes.
That is definitely a good way of describing it.
And that's saying something because we've played Sonic Blast.
That is saying something.
The one thing that I will give it, unironically, is that the pinball minigame feels better than Sonic Spinball.
That was so strange to me.
I actually don't know what you're talking about. How does it feel better?
It's faster, it's a little bit more responsive. You can't control the ball's movement just by pressing keys. That does, there's a tilt and all that. But I had a way easier time batting that thing around than I ever did in Spinball. Maybe because I didn't actually need to hit any specific targets, but still.
Well, the thing I will say about that minigame is, for some reason, it has no music at all. It just has a few sound effects, and it's dark, and I was getting Eraser vibes again. It's just it feels cold and unwelcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
Yeah, this game has an eerie vibe to it, which is interesting because it's made for kids. It's like, a kid is going to get more scared of this than they would of anything in Sonic 3.
It kind of gives me Liminal Space vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I think part of it is that, this game was obviously not developed by any of the headlining Sonic staff, which is probably why it looks so different and doesn't sound like a Sonic game and doesn't animate like one. Because that was the thing that I noticed, is that, we said, Tails' sprite is not bad particularly. It's weirdly colored, but it doesn't, it doesn't look like any version of Tails we're used to, because it's not quite cartoon Tails, but it's also not quite game Tails. And that's probably what contributes to the overall feeling of offness, like this was not originally... Well, it's another game that doesn't feel like it was meant to be a Sonic game, but it feels like it was not meant to be a game particularly.
It's just not meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird though, because it has a mix of those sprites, but the Green Hill Zone minigame is just Green Hill Zone. They might have alternated a little bit, but it looks pretty much the same to me. And in the background of the screen where there's like music playing, not the keyboard, but the other one, the one that has the pinball in it, you can see Robotnik, and I think it's just the standard Eggman sprite from the games in the background.
I don't think it is, but it looks relatively accurate too, which again makes it blend weird with Tails and Sonic not looking right. I kept wanting to click on Eggman in that part because I was hoping he'd do something, but he doesn't.
I know.
So I think I might have an explanation on why the game feels kind of creepy.
Okay.
It's developed by the Echo the Dolphin people.
Oh my god, that explains everything.
Oh, so this game fits into the Echo the Dolphin timeline.
Oh,
not the Sonic timeline.
Of course.
Yes, the Echo the Dolphin cinematic universe, which is a great inside joke that nobody else knows about to reference on this podcast that we're meant to make public.
Excellent.
Are we gonna have to talk about that game for the show sometime?
It was one of
Sega's...
Sega's...
Sonic to talk about, I guess.
It was one of Sega's big names, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I think it was.
Well, it's one of the ones I actually know about. I'm not really a knowledgeable Sega person.
Well, in any case, we're not talking about it anytime soon. That does explain a lot, though, because Echo the Dolphin has an absolutely unhinged vibe of weirdness and eeriness to it, so... Why would you want those people to make a little kid's entertainment game?
That is a question.
Well, it's not going to be next week, but we are going to look at the other Sonic edutainment games in the near future.
That's on the meme episode.
Yeah, which is, what is that, 2 episodes from now? I don't know, I don't care.
You'll see
yes, 2 episodes.
Okay, well, 1 episode from now is going to be, I meant to say this last week, but we are over the hump for classic Sonic, way over the hump, frankly, for Sonic games. We only have a couple episodes left. Next episode is going to be the Sonic Arcade Special, where we're going to talk about Sega Sonic the Hedgehog, and we're going to talk about Sonic the Fighters. I'm
so excited to talk about Sonic the Fighters.
I've always wanted to play that game, so I'm glad I finally get to it.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, that's all going to be next week. Hope you guys all had a good time listening. Hope you all have a great night, and see you next time.